Hello, Julie here, and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, thank you for joining us, and if you are already a subscriber, thank you for coming back. If you're new, please consider subscribing if you enjoy my video. Today I'm going to be doing creating a cover, and now this is part of the Paperomia Grandma's Recipe Book Challenge. So I've printed out some of the papers from the kit. I haven't printed them all. It's a huge kit, and yeah, it's lovely. So there are two kits. There's the Grandma's Recipe Book and there's the Old Bakery shop. I've printed, this page is from the Old Bakery one, and the rest are from the Grandma's Recipe Book set. Now I've put together a signature. I'm just going to make one little journal with one signature in it, and I wanted to show you how to create the cover. So I've got some plain brown wrapping paper here. It came in a package somewhere, and I've actually ironed it to try and get the creases out. I have cut some pieces of 300 GSM cardstock that is pretty sturdy, not as thick as chipboard, but sturdy enough once we put this on, and then I'm going to put other layers on top of that as well. So I've cut these. Now these are A4 sheets folded in half. So my actual page in my signature measures just over 5 3/4, so 5 7/8 by 8 1/4. So I've measured here. They are 6 inches by 8 1/2. So I'm using some 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock. So I've cut two pieces that size, and I've cut one piece that is 1 inch by 8 1/2. Now I'm only doing a 1 inch spine because I've only got one signature. So I'm going to position those on my brown paper with just a little gap in between. About, you can see there, about, oh, I don't know, maybe a 1/16 of an inch. Yeah, a 1/16 of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and attach those to my brown paper. You can use whatever you like. I'm going to use my glue stick for the body of the cardstock, and then I'm going to run around the edge with my art glitter glue, just so that I know that it's firmly attached around the edges. Now my art glitter glue has been misbehaving itself of late, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. So I'm just going to run some of this around here. I don't know what's going on with this. I don't know whether it's the hot weather or what, but it is not being good. I have never had this problem before, and I've been using art glitter glue for a few years. So what's making it be cantankerous, I'm not too sure. But I'm trying to get this nicely around the edge so that I know it's going to stick in the edges. Now I've cut this about 2 inches taller, so I've got a bit of about an inch showing at the top and bottom. And I've got plenty of space this way. I can't remember how wide it is, but I can measure it if you are interested in that. So I'm just burnishing that down so that I've got a nice even attachment to the paper. Okay, so this paper is 12 about 19.5 inches wide, which is too wide, but I'm not too worried about that at this stage. Now I'm going to attach this piece. I'm going to do exactly the same thing with my glue stick and my art glitter glue around the edge. And when I attach it to the background or the piece of brown paper, I'm going to leave about a 1/16 of an inch between it and the front cover. Now you want to leave that gap because it just makes it so much easier to fold. I'm not too worried if I get extra glue anywhere because it's all going to be stuck down anyway. Okay, so here we go again with the, this will be the back cover. Both sides of this cardstock will be covered with paper. The inside will be covered with pattern paper and the outside with this brown paper. So we want to line this up along the top and bottom, and we're going once again for that about a 1/16 of an inch. The guide for your gap here is the thickness of your cardstock that you're using. So if you're using chipboard, what I do is put a piece of chipboard in between the two so that I know I've got the right gap. So I always like to burnish all of the areas down. You can use your bone folder, or you can use, you know, there's scrapers and all sorts of things that you can use. I've got one up here. So this sort of thing, you can use that as well. Some people have got like really wide ones that they can use. Okay, so now that we've got that stuck down, I'm going to trim these edges off. Now we don't have to worry too much about how wide they are, but I would make them at least 1 inch, and they don't have to be perfectly straight. I am not a straight cutter with scissors, so this edge, both of these edges are going to be covered. I might get a scissors with a bit bigger blades. So as you can see, I'm allowing about 1 inch. So I've got about 1 inch all the way around. Now we're going to fold these down and attach them. Okay, but before we do that, we're going to cut our corners out on a bit of an angle. So we're going to do that on all corners. You can see I've just left a little bit on each corner, hopefully. Now, fold them down. Fold the top down and the bottom up first. Okay. Now, let's attach those. I can use my glue stick. I'll use my glue stick for the most part, and then I'll use my art glitter glue for just the edges. I'm just going to run a bead of glue all the way along there, like so. Okay, and I'm going to smooth that out nicely with my bone folder. So that's nice and smooth. Let's get rid of this bit of rubbish lying around. Now I'm going to do the same for this edge. I'm going to actually do the same for all 4 edges. So I'll probably put this on fast forward. Just make sure you get your paper or whatever you're using to hold your cover together down into that groove. You can see here I trimmed a bit too close to the corner. Don't do that. Luckily enough, I'm probably going to be able to disguise that a bit with some ink when all the glue's dried, and I'll come back to that. Okay, so there we have our cover created. Okay, as you can see it's got some wrinkles on it. That's because all the wrinkles didn't iron out when I ironed it, but by running my bone folder over it, I can make it as smooth as I can get it. Right, so let's think about what we're going to do next. So next, I want to put something down here. And I think I'm going to use this. Now you can see that the 8.5 inch cover and my 8.25 inch cardstock that I've used here, I've used 200 GSM cardstock to print these on. So I'm going to cut that. So I've got a 1 inch spine, so I'm going to cut this at 3 inches because I want an inch on either side. So put that there. So I've got 3 inches out here. I hope you can see that. And I'm going to pop that on there. So that will sit on there like that. So I'm going to centre it between the top and the bottom. I don't have to worry about inking. Oh, I'll ink along the top because we will see the top, but we won't see the sides, so we don't have to worry about inking the sides, or the top and the bottom. So I'm using Vintage Photo for that. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use my glue stick to do the centre or the bulk of the gluing. Now, normally I'm not a big glue stick fan, but I have seen so many people using glue sticks that I figured it was time that I gave it the benefit of the doubt. But I'm using my liquid glue around the edge just to be sure. Now I'm going to position this over my spine, trying to get it centrally, so trying to get about an inch on each side and equal amounts between our top and bottom. Now I'm going to I'm going to run my bone folder down that crease because I want the glue to attach down into the groove. You probably should wait until your glue is dry before you try doing this, but for the sake of the video I am getting a little ahead of myself. Now we want to cover these pieces here, and I have these two pieces that I have printed. These are from the Baker's kit, so I'm going to cut these down. So that cover is 6 inches. So I'm going to cut this 5 3/4. Now I don't have to worry about changing the height because once again my paper, this paper, A4 paper, is 8 1/4, and this paper, which is the American size, 8 1/2 by 11, is 8 1/2, of course. So that still gives me my 1/4 of an inch. I'm looking for 5 3/4, which is pretty much half. And I want one for the back, so that's 5 3/4 as well. There we go. It's only that little bit in the middle that I'm not going to be needing. So now, which one do I want where? I think I'm going to put that one in the front and this one in the back. Yep. Okay, so we're going to see all of this one. So I'm going to ink around the edge, all edges of this. I'm going to use the same technique. So I'm going to put my glue stick over most of the cardstock. I'm building up the thickness of my cover as I work. So I'm going to position this centrally and I'm going to line the top up with my spine paper. And you can notice there's my spine there. So it doesn't come right to the spine edge. Bit of glue down here. I don't know about you, but I get glue everywhere when I'm doing this sort of thing. So let's burnish that down with our bone folder. Make sure we get our glue nicely spread out. There we go. So you can see there's my spine. So I didn't go over that fold. There's the fold and there's my paper. So I'm about 1/8 of an inch away from the fold. I'm going to do exactly the same with the back cover. Now I have got a 1 inch spine on this, but if you've got more than one signature, well then you'd have to make a wider spine. Depending on how many signatures you've got, depends on how wide your spine would be. I'd like to thank Paperomia for asking me to join in with this collaboration. It has been a very, very interesting collaboration. The videos that have been shared are fantastic, and yeah, I've really enjoyed watching them. We're going to line that up once again with the top and the bottom of our spine, and we're looking for an even sort of border all the way around. There we go. This time I'm using my spatula to do the smoothing out. You can use either, just whatever you happen to have at hand. The wider the better probably, because you get a more even spread. Okay, there we go. So that's the inside of our cover done. You can see there, once again, I've got a little gap between my fold and my pattern paper. So when we close it, the pattern paper doesn't impinge on the hinge at all. Okay. Right, now I'm going to do the front cover. Now, what did I choose for that? Oh yes, I thought I might have this one on there. Grandma's recipe book. So I'm going to trim this one down to 5 3/4. And this one I thought I'd put on the back cover, so I'm going to trim this one down to 5 3/4. So let's ink around both of those. Now it's at this stage that you probably need to start thinking about your closure, what sort of closure you're going to have on here. You can attach your cover, this, onto your cover and then use a eyelet, put an eyelet through here and then tie your closures together. Or you can attach your closures, say you're using ribbon or sari silk, you can attach that in here and then put your pattern paper over the top of it. So that's up to you. In this case I'm going to attach my pattern paper and then have an eyelet with my closure. Right, so I'm going to do the same thing now with this. So I'm looking for about 1/8 of an inch all the way around, which should then let me clear my spine nicely. And our back cover the same way. Isn't it funny how we evolve as crafters? There was a time, not that long ago actually, where I wouldn't even consider using a glue stick, thinking that they were inferior, wouldn't stay stuck, and yet so many junk journalers use them on a regular basis. So I thought, well, if everybody else uses them, I can't see why I wouldn't use it. So now I use it a lot more than I ever have before. I still like to back it up though with some liquid glue. Okay, so there we have our front cover. Okay, sorry about that. My camera records for 29 minutes and then stops, and it doesn't give me any indication that it's stopped. And yeah, so it stopped before I realised it, and when I came to realise it, it was too late. So you saw me attach the back and front covers and the inside covers and the inside spine. The only thing that you missed was I attached a 3/4 of an inch strip of the same pattern paper, so this paper, cut a strip off of that, to the outside spine. I did it exactly the same as I'd done the others with the glue stick and the art glitter glue all around the edge, and I've done that and I've inked it before I attached it. So that's what I'm up to so far. Now that is it for creating the cover. So if you're just interested in finding out how to create the cover, your video stops here. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attach my signature. So I'm going to use a 3-hole paint flip stitch to put this signature inside of my cover. Like that. So I'm going to go and gather up all my binding equipment, and once I've got that organised, I will come back to you. Actually, while I've got this separate, I'm going to ink up those corners. Actually, I might ink around the whole thing just for a little bit of added vintage. I'll ink around the inside and the outside. Now I can also bend these over and ink the edges of my spine, which you wouldn't be able to do probably once you've got your signature in there, so it's a good idea if you do want to ink to do it before you attach your signature. So there we go. Alright, so I'm going to gather up my binding equipment, and once I've got that organised I will be right back. So there's lots of things you can use to bind your signatures into your cover. You can use embroidery floss. You can use this is silk chiffon ribbon. You can use sari silk. This is just a piece of something that was attached to some lace, I think, and I took the lace off of it and I've got this. You can use string. There's different sorts of string. This one's got a gold thread through it. You can use plain string. You can use embroidery cotton. Now this is white, but you can colour this to any colour you like using your distress inks or your distress oxide inks. And you can use ribbon. Any thickness of ribbon, so long as it will fit through the eye of your needle. So there are a few things that you can use to attach your signatures into your covers. Today I'm going to use embroidery floss. I haven't used embroidery floss before. Oh, there is also wax thread. This is what I normally use, and I usually colour it using my inks to whatever colour I'm using in my journal. I think the last one I did was blue, and I used the chip sapphire ink to colour it. So that's another thing. Now you can get this in all different thicknesses as well. So wax thread is probably one of the most common ones that people use. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to use embroidery floss for my journal today. Okay, so I've gathered up all my things and I'm about to bind this signature into my cover. Now we want to make sure that this is pressed back into that groove as far as possible, and we're going to clip that in place. Don't get too close to your centre because it will get in the way. Let's do the same for this end. Push that right in as tight as you can, and clip it in place. Okay, now I have made two templates. This template is the same height as my signature, and I've marked the centre, 1 inch up from the bottom and 1 inch down from the top. This template is the same height as my cover, which is a bit higher than my signature, and I have found the centre, and then I have measured up 3 1/8 inches and down 3 1/8 inches, because that's what this measurement here is. Okay, so now I need to mark both of these and put my holes in. Now our spine is 1 inch, and I'm going to put my signature in the centre of that. So I'm marking here at 1/2 inch, and at the bottom at 1/2 inch. Let me just check that I've marked that in the right spot. I have to go from that. Yes, I did. And I'm going to draw a line down there just to make it easier. You won't see this because your signature will be directly on top of it, but it will make it easier for you to mark your holes. Now I'm going to take my template and I'm going to match it up to the top and the bottom, and I'm going to make sure that I've got it level with the top and level with the bottom, and running along that line that we just drew. I'm going to make my pencil mark. So I'm going to actually do this with a texture pen so that you can see it. Okay, so we're going to put a mark there, and a mark there. So now you can see the 3 marks on my line, and that will be where I punch my holes. Now we can rub that line out now. If you're using light paper and you think it might show, it doesn't hurt to rub it out. Okay, now we're going to take our signature, and you'll notice that I've got marked on there top and top. So we're going to fold this the other way so that we've got the marks on the inside of the paper like so. Now we're not going to mark this, we're just going to put the hole straight into it. Now I find that if I put that there and hold it in place with my clips, I don't have to worry about it moving then. And it gives me a free hand to hold my book up like this, because if you hold your book in a V, you get a better chance of getting straight through to the spine. So I'm going to push my first hole through there. You can see it's fairly well right on that fold line. Now I'm going to do the same for the top and the bottom. So, bottom, and top. Once again, holding it in a V. Make sure we got our all on that dot and push it through. Okay, so that's our holes punched in our signature. We can remove our template now. Don't let your pages go crazy though. Now I'm going to punch the holes in my spine. So I'm just using my awl, and this is an old stubby holder that I've cut the bottom out of, and you need something soft to punch into, otherwise you push your cardstock or your signature out of whack, like it folds up, creases up. I'm only putting small holes in here at the moment because I'm going to come in from the other side. You can see here that when you poke your hole, you get that lump of paper comes out. So to get rid of that, I find if I smooth that down like so and then come in from this side and poke my hole through and make it bigger, that then is on the inside, and once you put your signature in there you don't see it. It's just a neater way of doing it, or I think it is anyway. I'm doing that to all of the holes, or 3. So I didn't mention, but I'm doing a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. There are lots of different ways of binding your signatures in, and this is just one. There are hidden signatures, a hidden binding, and my last journal had a hidden binding, and I'll put a link to that video in the description box if you'd like to see how that's done. Now, where did I put my needles? Oh, right here. So, and I've also done a tab binding. I like the tab binding, it makes your pages sit nice and flat. Yeah, so there's lots of different ways of doing binding your signature in, but this is the one that I'm going to do today. Now when you're doing your binding, the smaller your eye is on your needle, the easier it is for you to get that through your pages. Now, you can, I don't know, there's more ways of doing binding with this than you can imagine, and it's up to you how many strands of your embroidery floss you use. I'm going to use all 6, and as a general rule, if you allow 3 times the length of your book, you will have enough cord or whatever you're using to do your binding. You'll have plenty. So some people say you only need 2, some people say 2.5. I allow 3 because I wouldn't like to get halfway through it and find that I haven't got enough cord. So as I said, this is the first time I've used embroidery floss, so it's a whole new ball game for me. I could use a smaller needle because this is, you know, overkill really, but the actual eye on this needle is not real fat, so I'm pretty happy. Okay, now as far as binding's concerned, you can have your cord or whatever you're using on the inside or the outside. If you want it on the inside of your signature, you start from the inside of your signature. If you want it on the outside of your cover, you start on the outside. So some people like to have it on the outside so they can put a dangle or something on here. Actually, that's what I might do, so let's do that. So start from the outside and start on your centre hole. So just put your thread through there, then take your signature and you're coming up through the centre hole on that. I haven't really made those holes very big yet, so let's make them a little bigger. So poke our needle up through there and there. Now the next stage is personal choice. You can go to the top or the bottom. I'm going to go to the top because I want my cords to finish up at the top. So I'm going to go up there, pull that so that I've got one end out, and then through the cover on the top, in the top hole. Okay. Then we go straight down to the bottom hole. Up, inside through the bottom hole, and then inside through our signature. Okay. Then we take this back through that middle hole, trying not to catch our thread, not to split our thread, and then back through this hole in your cover. Once again, we don't want to split our thread. And there we have both of our cords on the outside at the centre, which is not what I wanted. I wanted them up there. So I should have started up at that top hole. So anyway, we'll go with this. I just won't put dangles, you know, beads on it or something like that. Okay, now we've got our binding done. We want to pull it nice and firmly, so we don't want any loops anywhere. Turn it over this way. Make sure that we have got our thread coming out either side of this. Actually, I am going to undo that. I'm going to have it coming out the top. Okay, so we're going to have our binding so that the strings hang out the top hole here on the outside. Okay, so we're going to start on the outside put our needle through there and through our top hole on our signature. Then we're going to go down through the centre hole and to the outside of our cover on the centre hole. Then back up through the bottom hole on our cover and the bottom hole on our signature. Then we're going to go, now it's hard to see, but there's a piece of our binding fabric here, and now we're going to go back through the centre hole to the outside of our cover. Okay, so now we've got cord here, and on the outside we've got cord here, and I'm going to tie this here, and that will give us cord there. So we can tie a knot. First of all, make sure that we've got our signature in there nice and firmly. It's not floating around anywhere. Be careful not to pull too tight, because you can tear these holes and make them much bigger. Now we're going to tie this off. Bring it right up to the top. And then this one. There we go. I'm going to give that another knot just to be on the safe side, but that is a reef knot I've done, so it's not likely to come undone. Now I've done a double reef knot. Okay, so that leaves our thread on the outside that we can put some beads or whatever on. Our signature is bound into our book. We can take these off now. That's loose. So that's no good. Now that I've tied that so securely, I need to undo it. Alright, I'll undo that and then I'll be back. So you can see what happens if you don't get that loose enough. This signature just flops around all over the place. Alright, back in a tick. Okay, so I couldn't be bothered with undoing that knot, so I just cut the thread and rebound it. So there we go. Now we've got our signature firmly in our cover. Now, where's my bone folder? There we go. So now I'm just going to give that a bit of a burnish. And this side. And there we go. So I'm not going to decorate this now, but I'll give you a flick through. What I've done, I've left plenty of room in here for writing. There are some lovely background pages in the kit that have got lines on it, so you can write your recipes in here. You've got room here to put a photograph of that particular recipe if you want to. So I've put some graph paper in here that's a different size. This is tea-dyed paper. This has got the lace pattern on it on one side. More kit page. Another background page. So you can see these are the two background pages I used. One looks like crumpled paper and one's a grungy looking page. So I've got about 3 pages and then a pattern page. So that's how it goes all the way through. I don't know what I'm going to put in here. I'll probably put some pockets and things like that. Now this page here, if we go to the other side of that, oh well, just let's say that this was the page that, this is where the page ended, because I did a fold over on the other side. So I've just used that to attach this page into the journal. So we've got some writing space there, and we've got a nice little picture page here. A bit too much distressing there, but that'll be okay. And then in the centre we've got our double pattern paper, and you can hardly even see that binding there, can you? Pretty good match as far as the colour's concerned. Then we go on the same way through the last half of the page. Now this is the page that I said earlier that I folded over, so this was actually a misprint. It was supposed to be, those lines weren't supposed to be on there, and when I double-sided it, I put it in the wrong way. So I thought, well, I don't really want to waste it because I really like that image, so I just thought I'd make it into a pocket. So there we go. You could write on that, no worries at all. All of these printed pages are 110 GSM, and these coffee dyed or tea dyed ones are 80 GSM. And these are like vintage. Oh yeah, I think they're vintage. They'd be from early 60s, 1960s. That was a school book. And got two together there. How come? What's going on here? Oh yeah. Okay, so those two have both got the same picture, and then we've got our cover. Now I have got some of the fussy cuts from the kit. I've got this page here that I can do something with. I've got some fussy cuts here and some labels that are in the kit that I will use here and there. These fussy cuts are from the Baker's kit. I'm not sure if the labels are from the Baker's kit or the Grandma's Recipes. I think it's Grandma's Recipes, yes it is. So yeah, I've got a few other things here that I can use throughout the journal to do pockets and whatever. That's the cardstock that I used to make the cover. So you can see here, like this will make a great pocket. I'll put that on there like that as a pocket on pages. So I've got that one, and that one that will make good pockets. I think these might be from the bakery. Yeah, they are the bakery kit. So are these. This is, oh, that's just a piece of pattern paper. These are from the bakery kit as well, that I've just cut up as fussy cuts, you know, little things too. So say I've got a pocket there like that, I could put that in the pocket. I could put a label on here. I can put, say, something like that on there as an embellishment. So yeah, I've got these things to play with. Got that one. Now these, as I said, come from the bakery kit. So there, a couple more of the labels that are in the kit. That's from the bakery kit. That's from the bakery kit. Labels from the Grandma's kit. Pretty labels, all different sizes, a few different shapes. This one's from the bakery kit. This one's from the bakery. bakery, 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 and a few more labels. Now for the closure, I'm going to use an eyelet closure. As I said earlier, there's lots of different ways you can make your closure. I'm going to find the centre of my cover. So I've got a centering ruler here, and so about there. I want it in a bit, so I'm going to put a mark. Where's my texture? I'm going to put a mark there, and I'm going to do the same on the back. So there and there and about there. Right, so I guess everybody knows how to add an eyelet, but I will show you just in case you're a real beginner. I have got a crocodile. There's lots and lots of different ways of doing this. There are hand ones if you haven't got a crocodile. Crocodiles are quite pricey. I've had mine for many years, so I bought it when it wasn't so pricey. But I want a gold one. I'm going to do one in the front and one in the back, so I need two of them. And I use the little rings on the back. Depends where you get your eyelets from, whether they come with backing rings or not. If they don't, well then you probably don't need one. So that's that. Now these eyelets are a little bit bigger than the standard eyelets, so I just use a pencil to make that hole a little bit bigger. Push my eyelet in. Still needs to be a little bit bigger than that. When you're doing that, you need to be careful that you don't push so far that you break through this part here. It's interesting to know that you need to be a reasonable amount back from the edge, otherwise when you are pushing, or even when you're not pushing, if you're just using the slightly smaller eyelets, there's a possibility that you can push through or break through that little piece. Okay, so I've got that in there now. I'm going to put my little ring on the back. And then close that over. You need your muscles to do this. I sometimes, like today, have to have 2 shots at it. I've got arthritis in my hands, and it can be quite painful to do this. Okay, so now I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the front. I'm looking for my little dot there. Try and get that in the middle of my hole. Punch my hole, make it a bit bigger. I am being quite vigorous here. If you've got a more fragile cover, you certainly couldn't do that with it. There we go, I've got our eyelet on. Put the ring on the back and tighten that up. So it can be a bit tricky holding that little ring in place, or you're getting your eyelet or your crocodile over your eyelet properly. Sometimes I just take this out to my husband and get him to do it. So there we go, we've got 2 eyelets in our journal now, and I've got this champagne coloured ribbon. It's a sort of a variegated ribbon. My mother used to do ribbon embroidery, and she gave me the ribbon that she had left over because she doesn't do it anymore. So we can snip that, feed one end through and tie a knot. Tie a double knot. Now, up to you what you do with your little ends. And this silk ribbon, I will just singe that with a flame so that it doesn't fray out. And then we'll do the same with the back. Thread that through, tie a knot. And just trim that down slightly, and then we can go ahead and tie our book closed with a pretty bow. Okay, so there we go. That is how to create a cover. Decoration is completely up to you. You can put a lace over the spine if you didn't want to see your binding. You could do a hidden binding if you wanted to do a different type of binding. Yeah. So there we go. Alright, well, we've got our signature into our cover, we've created our cover, and now we've got a nice little journal to write our favourite recipes in and to decorate as we wish. Alright, so that's it for me for today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you to Paperomia for asking me to join in this collaboration. I love the papers, and of course I'll have links to everything in the description box. So yeah, thank you very much to the ladies over there, and I will see you in my next video. Okay, bye.